Episode 3 of The Acolyte is going to break Star Wars with a complete redefinition of the Force. As we go now, you've gotten to the story at this point. The two sisters, one, they were both thought dead. The two sisters, now one evil, working for a Sith Lord, basically assassinating Jedi. Another one, just a humble life. She's a former Jedi, and she's working as a mechanic or a mechanic.
Let's just say failed Padawan.
A failed Padawan. But now we go back 16 years into the past, where we see the story of the two young sisters. We open on an idyllic tree in the middle of a perfect, beautiful planet where there are little like birds floating, and they're using the Force to kind of play with these birds, the two sisters, who have a kind of a weird childlike rivalry. And they're being raised by a coven of witches, all women. And we meet their mother, what's her?
Their
Kirill.
mothers. Their mothers.
No, wait. You meet the first Mother Kirill. Okay. And that mother brings them and says, "Hey, what are you doing here? You're too far from our sanctuary. Come back." And then they meet the matriarch of the Coven of Witches, played by, let's see, her name is Jodie Turner Smith. She's Mother Anastasia. Mother Anastasia. So these are the two mothers who bore these twins, and they are as you get into you meet this whole coven of witches, and their whole philosophy is a little different than what we've been told the Force is. Alan, take it from there.
Yes, because life is connected through a thread. And by pulling on that thread and pushing on that thread, you are able to tap into powers. Powers that can help defend you. Powers that can help you in fighting. But one is not strong enough, but two is stronger. But stronger than two are many.
That's exactly. So I took notes.
Yeah.
It's so they redefine what the Force is. She says, some people call this thing the Force, but what it is a thread. And she re-explains the Force as a thread in the universe that you can pull on to use. And it's done in a matriarchal way that is so weird. It's like, don't listen to the Force. This is what we mean. Now the two children have to go through this
ascension ceremony,
a ritual, which is called ascension, right? Which they acknowledge one is powerful, two is more powerful. Together they're more powerful, whatever that means. But they are interrupted by Jedi, because the Jedi believe that these two young girls are Force powerful, and if they are, they could leave their coven and train to be Jedi. So it's like,
and who are these Jedi, by the way?
Well, Master Soul, Indara. It's the four Jedi that we met before. The one Wookiee Jedi, Torben, Indara, and Soul. They come there and they're like, "Hey, we think that your kids. Are there any kids here?" And they say, "No, there's no kids here." And they reveal, hey, okay, there's kids here.
You lied.
And it's like the Jedi are like the Child Protective Services of the galaxy, that if they find any children that are Force sensitive, they can take them from you and train them. It's really weird. The Jedi are being set up to be evil, basically.
Now, here's the thing is, so we have these two kids, Osha and May, and Osha basically says, "I want to be a Jedi." Why do we know that? Because she says, "I want to be a Jedi." And throughout this whole episode, it's like, "But I want to be a Jedi. Can I be a Jedi? Can I leave you? But I want to be a Jedi." It's this idea that we're just saying it We're not showing it. We're not
We're-
showing what
we're
it is
never-
about Osha.
She never gives a reason why she wants to be a Jedi. I wrote this down. So yeah, there's Mother Coral and then the other mother. And so there's two mothers that created these children, right? And it's basically Mother Anasia that created them, but Mother Coral is the one that carried them, which make of that what you will, whatever that means.
Well, it's the midi-chlorians.
But she says, some called it a force, but we call it a thread. Pull the thread, changes everything. It's weird, but we know the thread is not a power you wield. And then she goes on, she says, here's where it gets really. The galaxy is not a place that welcomes women like us. They're victims. They're oppressed.
Yeah. In fact, where they are, we should mention that where they are in the universe, they were exiled there.
They were exiled there. The galaxy doesn't welcome women like us. Basically, lesbians. I mean, they're basically lesbians.
They are lesbians.
And
the way they touch each other when they first meet, the hand stroke across the face.
Yeah,
it's pretty. Yeah, they're lesbians.
Yeah,
there ain't no man in that coven.
So it's a coven of lesbians that make two twins that they're going to indoctrinate into the power of the thread, which is their interpretation of the Force and re-explained. And I'll just say this, the dialogue between the two young twins, Osha and May, it's terrible. It's so bad. So they take the twins. The Jedi say, look, we want to test the twins to see if they're Force sensitive to train them as Jedi. So what they concoct a plan that they'll go in and they'll lie. When they go to take the test, the two twins make an agreement to lie about the test so they will fail the test. Actually, an old woman in the coven suggests it. And it's the most terrible digital effect of this old woman who looks like an ugly version of Yoda. Remember that? It's bad.
Yeah.
He says, why don't they just lie? And then whatever, So the two twins agree, okay, when we take this test, we're going to lie. And then they go and lie, but they get caught in the lie.
Well, no, May lies. Osha's conflicted because she wants to be a Jedi. And how do I know that? Because she says she wants to be a Jedi.
Yeah,
and
she says
so she winds up kind of endearing herself to Saul, who realizes that she wants to be a Jedi.
And then they catch her and basically say, hey, you're Force sensitive. And May is so distraught and pissed off at her sister. He burns down the place. These are like 11-year-old girls.
Okay, well, we should set that up a little bit differently. First, there's this rift that begins to form between May and Osha, where Osha says, "I want to be a Jedi," and May says, "You can't. You're my sister. You can't because you're part of this coven. You can't because I hate you. You can't because I want to kill you."
Yeah, and she literally says, "I want to kill you."
Yeah, and then she grabs Osha's book that she's been making notes about the Jedi for since childhood or since birth, and by burning that book, a fire runs throughout the entire place. She starts this horrific fire, and then falls down a pit in the same way that Emperor Palpatine did in Return of the Jedi.
It's so god awful because it doesn't. So the 11, I want to kill you, sister, and burns down the place, and then everyone dies. You see this carnage of all the women, like in a pile.
Yeah, the Jedi are overseeing a pile of dead witches,
dead lesbians who've been oppressed. Yes, there's homophobia in Star Wars. I mean, when she said that line about, the galaxy is not a place that welcomes women like us, leaning into oppression and homophobia in Star Wars. And George Lucas stated that the only real racism in Star Wars was against droids, which made sense because of the Clone Wars, right? There were the clones battled the
The
droids,
droid.
which were
Yeah.
bad and a tool and used to kill. And so it makes sense people might not totally trust droids. That makes sense. And that's where racism exists in Star Wars. But no, we're being told the galaxy is not a safe place for women like us. So then they leave and they're all dead. The women in this coven are dead.
Except for one.
Except for one, Osha, which there's a weird thing where Soul has this weird thing where he's likes the young girl and hugs her and says, "I'll take care of you." He's hugging her practically in tears. Soul is hugging Osha, hugging. He's in tears. "I'll train you. I'll take care of you. Don't worry. We will ease your." It's so weird. None of this makes sense. Not any of it. It's just the way people act doesn't make sense. Osha wanting to be a Jedi. Why? Why does she want to be a Jedi so badly? The weird coven of lesbian witches that are oppressed. This is all episode 3. And put aside the fact that this is going to break Star Wars because of just redefining things. It's like regular normie fans of Star Wars are to look at this and think, what the hell's going on?
Again, when the end of Return of the Jedi, the end of Revenge of the Sith, is this where you imagined the Star Wars universe would end up?
Right.
Is this what you imagined the world of Star Wars being? And this was the point where it was like the Force is female. This is Star Wars is not for men anymore. It's not a boys brand anymore. It's a girls brand. It's decidedly a girls brand. And the other thing is this episode is a fundamental shift in the direction of Star Wars, of how we treat Jedi, of how we tell this lore. And to me, it's like, I can't be on board with this. This is not what I signed on to. When I watched the original series, when I watched the prequels, this is not where I anticipated this going, and I'm not on board. And that's fine. I'm an old man, who watched this as a kid, the original movies. So fine. It's for a brand new audience, and I'm okay with that. Audience, I hope you love it, and I hope you spend lots of money on it.
I mean, it's such a fundamental shift because what George Lucas said, you got to keep these things a little mysterious. Keep it somewhat mysterious. Don't over-explain it. And they've done this hard shift. It doesn't make sense. It's yeah. Final thoughts on episode 3 before we go to comments.
I mean, again, this was it for me. This was where Star Wars died for me once and for all. I was slowly fading away over the last since the pandemic, and I'm done. Star Wars. Like this is the last thing I bought of Star Wars was this.
No, how dare Well, actually, it's cool that it's in the old Kenner packaging. I actually like that. No, so Wish broke your faith in Disney animation, and episode 3 of The Acolyte broke your faith in Star Wars.
In Disney's handling of Star Wars. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, George Lucas, he even said recently that there's a fundamental not understanding what the Force is, what the Jedi are, and this will totally kill it. And the way that Jedi are portrayed in this story, they're like cops. I mean, there's like a scene that's right out of a cop chase video on local TV with like a floating spaceship and spotlight on someone. It's so bad.
Yeah.
It's just bad.
But
So
let's also be real. Let's also be real. I don't think we fans, pre-Disney Star Wars fans, ever thought the Force had gender assigned to it.
yes,
I never thought of the Force as being male, but
Yeah.
the Force is clearly female at this point.
Yep.